At this place in history, we're in Middletown Springs with Steve Perkins, the executive director of the Vermont Historical Society. Steve, people can likely see what we're in front of right now, so what brings us here?
Yeah, Mike, so we're going to hop inside the Middletown Springs Historical Society, and we're going to investigate why is it called Middletown Springs. So David Wright, who's the president of the Historical Society, is going to meet us inside, and we're going to have a little chat. So what was it before?
Well, it was actually parts of 4 adjoining towns.
Oh, fascinating.
Which came together in the center of what is now Middletown Springs. Poultney, Ira, Teignmouth, and Wells. There is a ring of mountains, or so-called mountains. The highest one is only about 2,000 feet tall, but they still prevented people who were, this was of course horse and buggy and travel by foot era, prevented them from getting to their respective town centers, mainly for religious observance and for town government. So they got together and petitioned the legislature to create a new town. The town hired a surveyor, one of their own, and he not only surveyed the town, but he was given the privilege of naming it. And he was from Middletown, Connecticut. But it also reflected the fact that it was in the middle of these 4 towns.
So now we've got Middletown. It becomes Middletown Springs. You mentioned horsepower?
In the middle 1800s, Albert W. Gray played around with some existing agricultural equipment because he thought he could improve it. And he invented his own improved horsepower treadmill. This is a thing that horses walk on to provide power. In 1868, there was a flood that uncovered some springs along the Poultney River, which had been lost after a flood in 1811. So the owner of the land where the springs erupted happened to be A.W. Gray. He was able to envision the springs becoming something that people would be interested in coming to see. And incidentally, he tasted the water and it made him nauseated, so he thought that must be a good thing.
Oh my goodness, because this was a time period, at this late 19th century of people taking the waters. And so springs was a big thing. I mean, people probably heard of Saratoga spring water, right?
And the Grays had been to Saratoga.
Okay.
After the springs were developed, he decided, or he and his sons, his 2 adult sons, and his friends with money in Poultney, bankers and the like, that building a resort hotel on the model of some of the things he'd seen in Saratoga Springs might make sense. And they put together $100,000 and built a 5-story hotel, the Montverde.
Pretty fair amount of money in the late 19th century.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
And they were bottling the water.
Yes.
I'm looking at these really cool bottles here on display. Where was the mineral water sold?
It was sold in the cities. I mean, in Vermont cities, but also as far away as New York City, Boston, Philadelphia.
Now, how can people learn more about the history of this town and the history of the spring?
Yeah. Well, a good place to start would be the Middletown Springs Historical Society's website. We have a section on the history of the town and the development of the springs and so forth. And they can come and visit. We have a museum.
There's also a Mineral Springs Park, which we'll visit next week at this place in history.